What's wrong with this chair? Oh, it's already all the way up. That sucks. Well, I'm starting the stream. Let's turn the volume off on Odyssey real quick, but let's also make sure that people can hear. That sucks. All right, cool. All right, so I don't really do live streams that often. I do pre-recorded shows, and that's kind of where I'm at with that. And I just kind of figured, you know what? This stuff needs to be talked about immediately, and I can always just save the video or the stream and let the stream work out as Monday's Trevor Report. So there's that. Plus, I'm going to have a really busy week next week. So all I'm going to do is going to wait for a few more people to show up, because I put it out on all the socials or whatever. My previous Getter account got hacked, and the Getter support team isn't being very helpful with me at all. It's been since before Halloween. They've basically ignored me, so it's like, all right, whatever, I'll just make a new one. So yeah, that's where I'm at with everything. Let's begin. Now let's begin. So there's something going on with central bank digital currency, and I'll get into it sort of in the latter end of today's report. But there's also some Kanye West and Trump stuff, some Kari Lake stuff, and a philosophical question that I want to ask as many people as possible. So that's sort of where we're at with that. But in the meantime, I guess let's do some nonsense for the sake of it. So let's see. I'm gonna find a video that's basically a bunch of nonsense, and we'll see, because there's something. What was that one video? Where is it in the show notes? Where is it in the show notes? I don't remember. Oh, that's because it's not in the show notes, because I decided not to do that. All right, whatever. So yeah, this is the Trevor Report for the next 2 hours. It's just going to be me, the camera, and everything that you see on screen. Clickable link down below in the description. So while we're waiting for more people, I'm going to open this real quick, and I'm just going to share it real quick. So let me just do... Well, I didn't set that up to do that. So let me just go here and go here. All right, so this isn't the show notes. I wanted to do a sponsored advertise segment. So this Trevor Report is sponsored by my is sponsored by my sponsorships. For one, I like to make people professionally 100% cancel proof. Like that's my profession. That's what I do for money. Okay, I help people become 100% censorship, cancel culture proof, and turn their social media into a passive income business and makes them around $1,000 a month. I also have this thing right here where you can promote the Acropolis News Network, where you could promote my news network, Acropolis News Network, with all of the member content, and in exchange, you get a slice of the pie for each sale for every membership that you make. It's a standard sort of affiliate program, but it's not like a pyramid. It's not like a pyramid thing. Okay, it's more like, hey, did you sell this product? Well, here's a portion of the sale. Thank you very much. You could basically advertise it however you want. I don't really have many rules on how you conduct the advertising, and it helps us take down the corporate press, and it's free passive income for you and for me and for everyone, basically. So, why not? You could also subscribe and become a member on theacropolisnews.com, which is pretty neat. You can get NordVPN and get 3 months free, which is pretty nice. That sale is about to end pretty soon. You could connect with me via Getter if you want to talk to me about various business inquiries. You can do the same thing with Gab. If you want to make suggestions on what to cover for a future Trevor Report, please don't do it in the comment section. I have a dedicated thing on my With Koji right here for you to make suggestions for segments in future Trevor reports. It's literally right there, because what keeps happening is, or what's happened like twice now, is someone's made a really, really, really good suggestion. It's like, yes, I'm totally ready to cover that on Friday. And then I forget. Because someone commented on a Trevor report or some other video that I did like a year ago, and I'm just like, oh shoot, and then so Saturday passes by. It's like, oh shoot, I was gonna talk about this, and then it doesn't really happen, and then I forget on Monday, and then it just goes out of my head. So having this right here puts it all under one, puts all the suggestions all under one roof and one HUD that I can see right there, and I can respond basically immediately as well. So that's neat. Don't count on that though. I am notoriously bad at communicating with people. Like I said, you can connect with me via Gab. I'm not really that active on Gab. I'm a bit more active on Getter, but it's just the way it is. If you want to just support me directly with a one-time donation, there's the Cash App right there. But I'd rather you become an affiliate marketer for Acropolis News Network, because it's free for you to join. We could both make money, and we can help take down the corporate press together. So things like that. And I'd also prefer, like, if you're going to donate me money, I'd rather you just go to sms.theacropolisnews.com, because I'd rather provide a service, but that is there. Some people just want to donate to a creator directly. I don't know why, but it is what it is, I guess. So, now that sponsored segment is out of the way, let's just wait for more people before I get into the first segment of the Trevor Report. How are we doing? We got a couple more people. All right, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'll just hit refresh on that because something's wrong with that. Okay, there we go. So, just so that the beginning segment of the Trevor Report isn't too boring, I want to pose this question. This is something I've been thinking about. Maybe it's because I've recently converted to Protestantism, or maybe it's because I've sort of always had this question in the back of my mind. So let's just ask the question. This is making me really nervous because I don't actually have an answer. Hence why I'm asking the internet. Who is more deserving of eternity in a Christian framework specifically? The saint or the sinner? And I mean deserved, right? Because if you think about it, like really, really think about it. What's wrong with this? Yeah. But if you really... There we go. I've sort of always had this... Okay. If you really think about it, like deep down, right? This is why this question is so difficult to answer, okay? Is because it's the word deserve is in there. Right? Well, obviously, the saint deserves their eternity in a Christian framework more than the sinner deserves a eternity under the Christian framework, because the saint did the labor and did the work and earned his or her place in heaven. But, and this again, hit my microphone accent again, under a Christian framework, right? But the same could be true, although vice versa, for the sinner. The sinner should the sinner not get what he or she deserves for how he or she lived his or her life? Because there are degrees of sinners the way that there are degrees with saints. So obviously the answer is God decides, let God sort them out. But that's boring. Like really boring. Like it's a really boring answer. That's just throwing eternity at that point. And that doesn't... I don't necessarily know if that means anything. Okay, so it just gets to a point where, okay, why not? Are they both equally deserving? If so, how does that make sense? If they're not equally deserving, then one is more deserving than the other. But then how can you tell? If it's a case by case basis, is what the actual solution is. But I don't like that answer, because that answer is boring. Again. So, does anyone, just out there in the future, does anyone know an answer to this question that isn't boring? Basically, that'd be really great. I understand that is rather a rather tall task. I understand that's a lot, because the answer is literally right in front of me. I just don't like it. That's it. I simply just don't like it. And that's sort of where I'm at with that. But I'd also like to bring up this. Now, this isn't a religious philosophy thing. This is more a political philosophy thing. I've noticed that a lot of people on the right are starting to desire doing the same ballot harvesting schemes and unite the forces of capital with the forces of labor, the same thing the left are doing. I understand the temptation, and I understand the readiness to say that anyone on the right who is against this is a neocon, or to call them a neocon, ineffective. I get all that. Okay, but the problem is, it doesn't solve the problem. Okay, and for those of you who are new, I'm a monarchist. I believe that for the federal branch of government, I believe the governors should be appointed by the president, and the president should be a king. Okay? And the reason for this is because I want the federal system in the United States to remain completely stagnant. I want them caught up in rumor and pretense, and I want them to be ineffective when it comes to dealing with matters of emerging technologies and people's rights, to be completely chained. Or rather, I want the federal government to be enslaved by the Constitution. Okay, the same way that the monarchy in the United Kingdom is enslaved by their constitution and enslaved by their common law. I believe, okay, thoroughly, that if the United States, as in our Declaration of Independence, we say that it is the right of any free people to break away from old government and establish new government, then all I'm saying is let's have that conversation. Let's hear people out. But on with the ballot harvesting that the right and the left are doing. And by the way, unfortunately, legal ballot harvesting in Pennsylvania, legal ballot harvesting in Arizona, legal ballot harvesting in a lot of states in the United States. And the only reason you would do ballot harvesting is to essentially trick people into voting in swaths. You take a bunch of uninterested voters, people who have no interest in the political system, because after all, you may not be interested in politics, but politics is very interested in you, like a common rapist. But it gets to a point where, and I've brought this up in previous show reports, all previous show reports linked down below in the description, blah, blah, blah. So I'll just say Republican and Democrat, to simplify things for this example. So if the Republicans are doing ballot harvesting in order to counteract Democrat ballot harvesting, again, there's nuance with sub-factions between the factions. But if the Republicans are doing ballot harvesting and the Democrats are doing... if the Republicans are doing ballot harvesting in order to counteract the ballot harvesting that Democrats are doing, which the Democrats have been doing ballot harvesting before the Republicans were doing, or before the Republicans have even considered starting to do ballot harvesting. So that's already an uphill battle that Republicans, again, nuance in the factions, that's an uphill battle that they have. Wouldn't the solution instead be to instead of just engaging in this, because at the end of the day, voting is nothing more than warfare without the violence, essentially. And I've covered this in previous reports when I talked about Brazil, when I talked about other things. Eventually, one faction will have to use force against the other. And again, broadly speaking, the Democrats, okay, the neocon, neolib uniparty types, the establishment, they're more likely to use force than the MAGA crowd. They just are. And certainly much more than the neocon remnants in the Republican Party. So you have these two sides. One is far more accustomed to using every trick in the book. Okay, they're Machiavellian, not in the sense of they've read Machiavelli, but they are Machiavellian in the sort of colloquial sense of we will seek power for the sake of it. Republicans cannot win that battle because at the end of the day, the Republican Party is mainly the party of populism and the party of conservatism and the party of conservative populism. So there's that. And they're a lot more caught up in sort of not parochial in the illiberal sense. I mean it in the sort of non-liberal sense. They're caught up in the, and me included, are caught up in the pre-Enlightenment sense of honor, duty, family, things like that. These pre-Enlightenment values that stick with humanity, sort of regardless of what kind of person you are. So I think that the solution would be to simply just do things that are actually, especially the actual like philosophical and moral conservatives, such as myself, okay? We need to do things that are actually proper, that are just proper conservatism. Okay, we need to forge and protect that which is wholesome. That's part of the reason why I've started two businesses. It's part of the reason why one of the businesses tries to produce as much cultural and philosophy content as possible, and the other is where I'm trying to sort of free people from the targeted harassment campaign of secular Catholics. So if you just click the link in the bio to support that, there we go. And here lies the thing, okay? We can support, defend, and forge together. We can build instead of destroy. When you do the ballot harvesting to counteract the ballot harvesting that the Democrats are doing, you are just destroying a broken system even further. There's simply no point. What point is there in the American system at that point exactly? Because I can't think of one. If just it's just ballot harvesting and voting machines. Okay, the voter is completely absent. Okay, the representatives in the representative democracy essentially at that point merely represent a stack of paper and a calculator. It's stupid. Like it's beyond stupid. Again, the federal branch shouldn't be subjected to this. Those who would beg for rulers have no right to choose them. All that stuff. Okay, but come on, like it couldn't be any more obvious that the American system is honestly it's very democratic. Okay, democracy is simply a system in which people vote. Okay, it doesn't say how those people vote. You could vote in democracy in all sorts of ways. It doesn't say why people vote. People can vote for all sorts of reasons. It doesn't say that individual people have to actually vote. You could have some schmuck or twit fill out someone else's ballot if ballot harvesting is legal. How are you going to know? Okay, the guy who's uninterested in politics will say, yeah, sure, why not? Fill my ballot out for me. My crazy sister with my crazy sexually androgynous sister with purple hair. Like, this is the reality of it, and the culture and the economy certainly don't help things much either. They really don't. So anyway, I thought, as an example of what I'm talking about, how I go over a few things. For one, nope, that's the wrong tab. Let's see. Nope, that's the wrong tab. What the hell's going on here? Okay, that's working. There we go. Okay. I don't live stream that often, forgive me. So there's this article from the New York Times. Let me just make sure I block scripts so that I don't get some stupid ad. There we go. Okay. And on this article for the New York Times is engaging in a little Operation Mockingbird. They're going out of their way to prime people. Now, keep in mind, this was from before the election, but I think it gives us a pretty good insight into what our betters mean, like their mentality, their headspace. Okay, so let's read it really quick. It's 2024. Trump backers won't certify the election. What's next legally? Now it's in the politics tab, so one could argue that this is in the news section, and we're already at opinionated content. Anyway. The question is most urgent in Arizona, where two of the former president's loyalists may well become governor and secretary of state. It's a nightmare scenario for American democracy. Keep in mind, when elites say democracy instead of the republic, they very much mean their democracy and not our republic. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Anyway. The officials in charge of certifying an election refused to do so, setting off a blizzard of litigation and possibly a constitutional crisis. Keep in mind, this article was from October 28th, 2022. And there are worrying signs that fears of independent scholars, Democrats, and a few anti-Trump Republicans could become a reality. Worrying signs that anti-Trump Republicans and them... of independent scholars, Democrats, and a few anti-Trump Republicans could be reality. So the opinions of elites and elitist bootlickers might come true one day. This is why I hate reading leftist articles, but whatever. We could soon be in a legal terra incognita, they said, like the days when medieval cartographers would write "Here be dragons" along the unexplored edges of world maps. Very pretentious. Blake Houndshell. Unreal. It would be completely unprecedented, said Nathaniel Persily, an elections expert at Stanford University. Ah, yes, the experts. Yeah. Quote, I hate to be apocalyptic, end quote, he added, but the United States could be headed for the kind of electoral chaos that, quote, our system is incapable of handling. Now, this little block right here, okay, he probably said much more than this. Nathaniel Persily in this article, he probably gave a much bigger statement. And so what Blake Houndshell did, and this is why it was broken up. The quote was broken up like this, is because there was significant time that passed between this first part of the statement and this other part of the statement. This other part of the statement could be in the middle, could be also in the beginning. It could be sort of towards the end, but not quite the end, and it could be the very end of the sentence. And we could have like an entire paragraph worth of a comment completely taken out. Okay, but let's keep the framing going. In Arizona, Kari Lake, a charismatic former television anchor, and Mark Fincham, a state lawmaker, have a very good chance of becoming governor and secretary of state. Both are ardent supporters of Donald Trump and his false claims that the 2020 election was stolen. I'm going to say another thing right now. Whether or not Trump's claims are true or false in the United States and the world more broadly, but particularly in the United States, is merely a matter of power at this point. Okay, there is a website that I've covered on previous show reports, all previous show reports linked down below in the description, called hereistheevidence.com. It cites the corporate press, multiple different outlets from the corporate press, mind you, and then there's video evidence and official voter records. And the website's called hereistheevidence.com. The website's a little bit Web 1, and it's effectively a glorified Excel spreadsheet. But, to say that there is no evidence and that the claims are false would be to deny the official Wisconsin state legislator who were at the time asking Joe Biden not to certify their own election results until they fixed a few things. One of the things mainly that they had more votes than they did registered voters, which should be a mathematical impossibility, by the way. Should be completely impossible, but whatever. On Friday, a group sponsored by Representative Liz Cheney, the vice chairwoman of the House Committee investigating the Capitol assault, and put $500,000 behind a television and digital ad that underscores the alarm some anti-Trump Republicans share about Lake and Fincham. So, Liz Cheney, someone who said that she would run as a Democrat and sides with the Democrats and everything, and asked Democrats to vote for her in the Republican primary, she's a Democrat, is saying all these terrible things about Republicans, but is being treated as a Republican by this because to our betters, effectively, the word Republican means controlled opposition. Liz Cheney is the controlled opposition of the Democrat Party. She is a part of the neocon, neolib uniparty. Why should anyone listen to her? Well, the New York Times is a propaganda outlet for the neocon, neolib uniparty. That's why. Quote, if you care about the survival of our republic, we cannot give people power who will not honor elections. No, this is stupid. And I've talked about this before. What the uniparty thinks elections are is we always win, you always lose, and there's nothing you could do about it. And if you have anything to say about it to the contrary, then we will deprive you of equal access to the public square. We will take away the means for you to engage in commerce and trade with your fellow citizens. We will mark you a pariah, and as we'll get into in a future segment, we will turn all of your currency into assets. And if you disagree with what we say at any point, at any time, we could just take all your fucking money away from you. So it's beyond stupid. And again, this is why people need to become 100% cancel censorship proof and start making some passive income with their social media. It's really easy. It's really easy. It takes like 3 months. It takes 3 months to build a separate stream of income through social media that makes you $1,000 a month. It's really easy, and it's decentralized and 100% censorship proof. It's awesome. It's great. It's brilliant. But anyway, let's continue a bit more. So the point I'm trying to make is there is an informal three-party system in the United States, and I think this explains the results that we have. Now, first and foremost, if you don't take this into account, this analysis, there's another analysis that I did where I just looked at Republicans and Democrats, and it's like, oh, well, the Republicans did really well. They weren't going to get a supermajority in the House anyway. There are some MAGA candidates that won, and like all the MAGA candidates got re-election. for the most part. So overall, it's a plus for the Trump faction in the Republican Party. I did all this. I covered all this. All previous reports linked down below in the description. Okay. But I think it's better to look at it this way. The neocon, and again, there's still some stuff going on with Kari Lake. We'll just have to wait on that. But for the most part, the neocon neolib uniparty is a faction. There's the neoconservatives in the neocon neolib uniparty that are in the Republican Party. Their role, I should say, is to be controlled opposition for the Democrats. They exist to basically gain little victories, but for the most part, always lose. Okay, and the Democrats will run everything into the ground, burn the U.S. dollar into oblivion, make life terrible for everyone. But they will enrich themselves in the Neocon Neolib Uniparty, and the Neocon Neolib Uniparty will vote to blow up kids in the Middle East. Okay, the controlled opposition is one faction because sometimes they'll grow a spine, and sometimes they'll be like, I'm not a complete and total bootlicker, etc. Then there's the Democrats. Okay, but now there's the MAGA faction. If you look at if you think of the Make America Great Again, okay, the conservative populist that's going on, this is its own three-party system. We have an informal three-party system in our two-party system. We almost, back in 2015, 2016, had an informal four-party system because the socialists ended up siding with the Democrats. So while the Republicans and Democrats are playing out the political version of Whig historiography, the Republican Party, the MAGA candidates in the Republican Party have created a splinter group where they don't relegate themselves to being merely reactionary, which means that there is now officially a conservative opposition in the United States that's in politics that has substantial political power. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong, the vast majority of them probably aren't monarchists, so it would be very difficult to say if they're really conservatives, okay? But for the most part, they are far closer to actual conservatism. They'll probably agree with the framing, forge and protect that which is wholesome far more than everyone else. Okay, and that's sort of my analysis of this. Okay, specifically, let's see. And here's another thing too. Most of the incumbents won. And in the races where there was decided between an establishment candidate or between an establishment candidate and a sort of non-establishment candidate, the non-establishment candidate won overall. Okay, in states that had the sort of populist conservative MAGA coalition, they went more red. Okay, other states not so much. There are let's see, Lauren Boebert won, but don't get me wrong, by a thin margin. It is Colorado. You know, it's what you get what you get. You know, California House 13 flipped. You know, there's a lot of good if you ignore the fact that there is a Republican splinter group, right, the MAGA faction, or as NBC is putting it in this thing right here, infighting escalates over poor 2022 election results. Like, the election results, no matter how you look at it, aren't poor results. Overall, again, like the Republicans were never going to get a veto-proof majority in the Senate, and there were many House seats up for re-election, but unfortunately, a lot of establishment candidates were running, and the sort of controlled opposition Republicans, McConnell and McCarthy, or the McDouchebags, as it were, they were going out of their way to make sure as many MAGA candidates as possible failed. And there's still some stuff going on with the Kari Lake race. She might still win. She might still not. But there are some articles, local Arizona articles. Now, don't get me wrong. Local news is still uniparty news. But for the most part, it's not completely terrible. It's pretty neat. It's pretty decent. There's something wrong with my computer right now. What the hell's going on? That's okay. I hope it's not showing up on the screen on the stream. Let me check it real quick, because that's hang on. There's an actual gray gradient right now, so. All right, there we go. Everything seems fixed now. Oh well, but it just let me actually make sure that I can hear it, because if I can hear it, everyone else can. For the most part. All right, I can hear it, which means everyone else can. Cool. So that's where I am with that. It's again, it's good that it's good that it's happening. Really good that it's happening. It's probably one of the best things in the world that's happening. Okay, we haven't actually. America has had a two-party system for a really, really, really long time, and even if it's informal, okay, it's still better than not at all. And that's sort of where I am with that. That was a fairly long first segment. Apologies. But yeah. So what are we gonna do now? What are we going to do now? Because I only have a few more segments, so I don't want to talk about the whole digital slave dollar just yet, and I don't want to talk about the Kanye thing just yet. And I already talked about the philosophy thing, so. Oh, well, I've been meaning to talk about this anyway. So, what I'm really into, or I guess what got me into conservative politics, conservative philosophy specifically, is that conservatism is a non-doctrinaire philosophy. It's pretty cool. And with a non-doctrinaire philosophy, I've sort of had to come to the conclusion that a true conservative is someone who forges and protects that which is wholesome and is not merely reactionary. Now, I've had to read a lot. I've had to read Michael Oakeshott, Edmund Burke, Curtis Yarvin, and there are others. There are others. I've read a lot of political philosophy, and so I've just sort of kind of concluded that conservative philosophy is just far more human than sort of Enlightenment philosophy. In particular, everything past Rousseau is just abysmal. Absolutely abysmal, and I can't be bothered to take it seriously, but the problem is so many people take it seriously, and then it leads to, a bunch of genocides and stuff. Every single time, And so what I'd like to do is sort of give the plan, as it were, and to just share it with everyone else. Okay, conservatives, people under the influence of conservative philosophy, yet to commit a single genocide, single one, a single genocide. It's true. The Dark Age, that was the 20th century, that Steve Bannon likes to talk about, not a single faction was protecting and forging that which is wholesome. They were trying to relieve men's estate. They were trying to bring about they were trying to give themselves the freedom from being told no. And obviously, for many reasons, many reasons that I've spent many years reading into. But instead of giving all those reasons, I'm just going to say they're retarded. The many reasons. They are completely and totally retarded. There is absolutely 0 point to any of this whatsoever. Okay, the only decent philosopher that's who wrote Beyond Good and Evil. My mind's drawing a blank. I'm so sorry. Hang on. Beyond Good and Evil. I don't want to say. Beyond Good and Evil. Nietzsche. Okay. I tend to confuse Nietzsche and Freud. My apologies, and I didn't want to make that mistake. So, Friedrich Nietzsche is and I guess Michael Oakeshott is technically a philosopher that comes out after Rousseau, but he's not an Enlightenment thinker. There are not many. There are some philosophers. Look, the point I'm trying to make is, by and large, philosophy post-Enlightenment is basically just an excuse to kill mass swaths of people. Not Friedrich Nietzsche, not Michael Oakeshott, but Marx, Engels, Lenin, Gentile, Hitler. All I'm trying to say is, the minute philosophy became about liberating various peoples within a class consciousness framework, when that started, it created this snowball effect that now every 50 years or so we have to contend with this incredibly ideological and genocidal faction of humans, and I can't be bothered. And that's why I ended up choosing conservative philosophy, because contrary to popular belief, again, conservatives do have their own philosophy. Kyle Kalinske and a lot of people on the left always say that conservatives don't have a philosophy, and it's just, you could literally Google conservative philosophers. It would take you seconds. Not even seconds. It would take you nanoseconds. Not even nanoseconds. Because the thing is, you don't even have to look it up. Okay, conservatism is obviously a particular philosophical teleology with particular beliefs, and that manifests in the lifestyles that conservatives tend to lead in countries throughout the world. So it's beyond stupid. It's beyond stupid, and I can't be bothered. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. Do I want to get into the Kanye stuff? Not yet. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of continue what I was doing with the other segment. There we go. So, in a previous Trevor report, I guess if you're watching the VOD of this on Rumble and other places, if you're watching the repost of this on Odyssey, when I inevitably repost this, you'll find this, and basically, in the show notes, okay, in this particular chart report, I went over my some of my spicier views on democracy. Now, don't get me wrong, I basically said those spicy views 15, 20 minutes ago, right? 10, 15, 20 minutes ago. And that's sort of where I'm at with this. The American system, the problem with it is that it's incredibly democratic because, again, no one said that the democracy is when people vote for the things they want. And if it gets to a point where if people are winning by slim majorities, or sorry, when two factions are winning by slim majorities, even though they're both ballot harvesting, and you get like that, essentially means that 1%, 2%, 3% of the country is effectively morally, philosophically, and ethically legislating for the entire country. Okay, it's okay. It's almost worse than minority rule, because I'd prefer if the election was decided by 30% of the population, not 2% of the population, not 3% of the population. Okay. But to get these sort of super majorities, for instance, if something is not at least a 60-40 split, do it again. If you're going to commit to democracy, then commit to it. But if not, all institutions, all systems inevitably trend towards oligarchy. The problem is when people say that the obvious oligarchical systems of the United States are not oligarchical because people vote, and it's so stupid. It's beyond stupid. It really is. And so we have this, and then there's this video from Spoon where he's like a monarchist with like a utensil avatar. It's a pretty good YouTube channel, and he's on like Rumble and Odyssey and stuff like that too. If you want to check him out, that's a total shout out by the way. I didn't become a monarchist watching him. I was sort of already a monarchist, and then I started watching him because it just got recommended to me. It's like, oh, okay, this is neat. It's pretty neat. And so let me just go over to when he goes over to the Jimmy Dore clip. And here a play.
Now we're talking about Donald Trump got let back on, Elon Musk let him back on, and Sam Harris tweeted this out. The prevailing opinion among free speech absolutists appears to be that this platform, in order to become healthy, must helplessly publish the malicious lies of any maniac at scale, regardless of the consequences. Good luck with that. Hey, good luck.
Okay. First off, yes. In order for there to be free speech, people need to be able to talk in the public square, Sam Harris. And Spoon is about to do a brilliant takedown of both Jimmy Dore and Sam Harris. But I'm just thinking to myself, look, if you ignore the fact, and this is what this is a nicer version of what Spoon said. If you ignore the fact that Jimmy Dore is trapped within a previous paradigm, and if you translate the paradigm that he's trapped in into the current modern paradigm, you will find that Jimmy Dore has some pretty good analysis. But Spoon, understandably, doesn't want to do the deciphering, which is fine. You don't have to, and it's a pretty good explanation for all of this. And I'm just getting to a point where I'm just like, my fellow Americans don't understand terms, and it's very annoying. For instance, people were saying that like the Kyrie Irving Black Hebrew Israelite crowd is like they're black Nazis. Like, oh, they're Nazis, but they're black. The same people that of course say that reverse racism doesn't exist. By the way, reject the framing of reverse racism entirely. It's just racism. Shut the fuck up. But it just becomes a point where listen, they're not national. don't get me wrong, the Nazi analysis is on point, but there's a lot more to being a Nazi than not liking Jews and protesting in support of, and there are people in the Black Hebrew Israelites that say leftist phrases like direct action. Okay, the Black Hebrew Israelites, okay, many of them are socialists. Many of them. Okay. The Waukesha guy who rammed his SUV into 60 plus people, killing several and injuring 60. You know, he did a lot of Black Lives Matter stuff on his social media. He had a quote. He endorsed a statement from Hitler and had quotes from Hitler all over his social media in relation to Jews. The Black Hebrew Israelites are literally, black people are the real Jews. Also, we hate Jews. That's their position on things. Okay, now don't get me wrong. I find that really funny. That's stupidly funny. The problem is, I've had my laughs, and now I find them annoying because they're basically a more militant faction of the critical race theorists. I'd imagine if you sat down Kimberly Crenshaw and Kari Irving did a lot of BLM stuff too. Okay, there is a direct pipeline between the black nationalist insurrectionist terrorists that seized land from the United States and declared it autonomous and violently pillaged working class communities. There is probably a direct pipeline, but from the Black Lives, from the Black nationalist movement of 2016, 2018, and 2020, directly to the Black Hebrew Israelites, especially because you may, now that it's publicly known and available, that the cackling hyenas that are in charge of the BLM movement the Buy Large Mansions movement, have a huge real estate empire that includes a Victorian mansion. So that's where it is. And if you are a black nationalist and you're in a position where, this previous black nationalist movement didn't work, let's go for this more extreme black nationalist movement. And then people like to make the Nazism right-wing connection, which is just so retarded. And I've talked about it way too many times. I can't be bothered to talk about it any more times. So I'm not going to talk about it any more times. But And then people are confused as to, because they're under that assumption, and they're like, why is Nick Fuentes a white nationalist and Milo Yiannopoulos is white nationalists siding with black nationalists, blah blah blah. It's because as the little graphic says right there, lefty Yankees don't understand anything. They really don't. First off, Milo Yiannopoulos isn't a white supremacist. Okay, before he came out as ex-gay, he was a Zionist Jew married to a black guy, and people called him a white supremacist. A white supremacist back in like 2017 when he was like super popular, Milo. Like it effectively meant enemy. There are a lot of words for enemy. So. And then people were saying that like Kanye West is part of the Black Hebrew Israelite stuff, and like maybe he talked to them, but he also talked to Candace Owens and saw the BLM documentary that the people at the Daily Wire had. So maybe he just went the same route that Kyrie Irving went, because Kyrie Irving and Kanye West are friends. So and you could, and this is very simple. Black nationalists and white nationalists do not have a reason to team up. They don't. I don't know how to break this to you people. And so if black nationalists and white nationalists are teaming up, then they're probably not black nationalists, and they're probably not white nationalists. In case I have to explain this, now I don't watch Nick Fuentes because I watch way too many people, and his voice is kind of annoying. Also, I find my voice kind of annoying, so that's the way it is with that. Okay, and then there's a account that I follow and follows me back, and okay, he's a part of like the Nick Fuentes's Groifer community. I don't know if like the Groifer is its own community or if the Groifer is Nick Fuentes's community, but essentially, Nick Fuentes and Kanye West. Kanye West is running because he may as well give it a shot. I'm voting for Trump of a Cesarest. That's sort of where I'm at with that. But look, go for it. If the Groifer community becomes a fourth faction in politics, that's fine. And I'm just at this point where America needs to either have its actual democratic institutions be democratic, or our institutions need to sort of pull back our democratized institutions that have essentially become vectors for an unaccountable oligarchy. I'm fine with either outcome. As a monarchist, I prefer the monarchy route. I prefer significantly disempowering the federal government. As our Declaration of Independence gives us the moral framework to do so. But here we are. So yeah, there's that. I'm gonna take a look at the chat. So I'm gonna deactivate the camera there, activate the camera there, and then I'm going to go to. There we go. I'm gonna go to the chat thing. Ooh, chat's buffering. Should refresh that. No, people are watching. It's just no one's commenting. All right. Oh, comment down below. I won't see it. This is basically the only opportunity for me to see it until after I go into the next segment. I'm gonna go into the next segment in a few minutes. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I can answer them. I don't know the secrets to the universe, by the way. I don't. I'm also really hungry because I forgot to eat breakfast and I've been up since 5 in the morning, but it is what it is. That went down the wrong side. Oh my. All right. Ooh. Oh my. All right. Let's should we jump into the next segment or give it a few minutes? Do I want to give it a few minutes? Maybe. Do I want to give it a few minutes? I suppose finishing like half an hour earlier wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So yeah, let's begin, I suppose, with the final segment. Central bank digital currencies are about to be a thing, and it's not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. An absolutely terrible and abysmal thing. Okay, but first off, the U.S. economy is not doing very well at all. Local media reports lack of long lines at retail stores. And you just have to go to see it on screen. Click the link down below in the description. The U.S. economy is not doing very well. Okay, case in point. People could not afford Black Friday shopping. Okay? That's unheard of. in the United States. Completely unheard of. All right, let's continue. SEC Chairman Gary Gensler met with head of FTX months before collapse. Okay, the point I'm going to make in this final segment of the Trevor Report is that not only are there plenty of regulations on the crypto market, that a lot of people were saying, oh, the government wasn't doing its job and watching this properly. The government was doing its job just fine. They just let FTX continue to grow because again, and I talked about this in a previous report, all previous reports linked down below in the description, the neocon neolib uniparty was exploiting FTX and people's and the various people that put money into FTX. They were exploiting it in order to finance their campaign for the 2022 midterms and likely the 2020 election as well. Gary Gensler, controversial tenure as chairman of Secretaries and Exchange Commission, could reach peak drama over a 45-minute Zoom call with Sam Bankman-Fried, the former crypto wonderkind, at the center of the largest debacle the $1 trillion digital coin industry has ever witnessed. Now, keep this in mind. The way the corporate press, okay, Wunderkind, okay, that like Wonder Kid, like he scammed like old ladies, out of their money and gave it to Democrats. Like, come on. On March 23rd, some 8 months before Bankman-Fried's crypto empire collapsed, was forced into bankruptcy. By the way, he basically just did fractional reserve banking for crypto, and it collapsed because crypto is designed to be the opposite of fractional reserve banking. As in, you actually have your money backed by something that exists, but whatever. Gensler granted what some crypto players are calling an unusual meeting to the then billionaire and prolific fundraiser for Democratic candidates, including his boss, President Biden. This is a Fox Business article saying glowing things in the beginning of this article, by the way. Just keep that in mind. While exchanges such as Coinbase, Binance, and Bankman-Fried's FTX process crypto trades for customers, they operate in a regulatory gray area without explicit SEC approval, thus opening management to possible sanctions. No. It's plenty regulated. There are plenty of laws governing this. Okay, crypto is an asset. Legally speaking, crypto is an asset. Okay? Or, sorry, legally speaking, crypto is a security, legally speaking. Okay, but let's continue. Republican lawmakers claim SEC chair was coordinating with FTX to obtain a regulatory monopoly. Tom Emmer, the recently re-elected Republican lawmaker representing Minnesota's 6th District in the United States House of Representatives, has alleged Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler had been helping FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried to gain a regulatory monopoly through the crypto firm. In a November 10th tweet, Emmer criticized Gensler for, quote, running to the media amid FTX liquidity issues causing ripples throughout the crypto market. According to the Republican lawmaker, his team was looking into the SEC chair's alleged collaboration with Bankman-Fried and FTX, but only cited reports presented to his office as evidence without providing details. Interesting. Gary Gensler runs to the media while reports to my office allege he was helping SBF and FTX work on legal loopholes to obtain a regulatory monopoly while we're looking into this. Tom Emmer. Okay? Let's also continue a little bit more. U.S. prosecutors opened probe of FTX months before its collapse. This is according to Bloomberg News. Okay, the Fed, okay, FTX functioned as a sort of is functioning as a controlled opposition thing in the crypto world. While it existed, it functioned as a massive money laundering hedge fund for the neocon neolib uniparty, mainly the neolibs on the neocon neolib uniparty, and then when it collapsed, very coincidentally, right after a bunch of countries are experimenting with various cryptos. Canada crypto regulation, Bitcoin ETFs, strict licensing, and a digital dollar. The first and last major attempt to encourage a comprehensive crypto framework was buried in the House of Commons on November 23rd. In October, Toronto-based Coinsquare became the first crypto trading business to get dealer registration from the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada. That means a lot, as now Coinsquare investors' funds enjoy the security of the Canadian Investment Protection Fund and the blah, 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 blah. The government is trying to get into the crypto market more and more and more. It's because the crypto market is the future, and the crypto market represents a sort of danger to the petrodollar. It represents a huge danger to government-controlled money, okay? If the government controls the money, then the government controls commerce. If the government controls commerce, the government controls you. And that's why Bitcoin, okay, you can transfer money to anyone, anywhere in the world without a bank as an intermediary. This is a huge threat to the petrodollar and a huge threat to the new reserve currency that China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, and one other country, I forget, are trying to make. It's a huge threat to it. Crypto, again, as I've covered in previous chart reports, I don't really care about crypto in an economic sense. I care about crypto in a political sense. Okay, full disclosure, I don't advertise it, but it's there. I have a affiliate link to a crypto exchange that has like experimental bots that trade crypto. I've made some money from it. I've lost some money from it. Again, you do like trades and stuff at your own risk, but I personally do not care about crypto in an economic sense. Okay, I just sort of, for me, if I'm going to decentralize my presence in the public square, I'm going to decentralize my finances as well. Okay, because, and as we'll get into very, very soon, it's a really good idea, especially with the really terrible things that are about to come out nowadays. Fedance versus Harris. This is a what is it? This is a ruling that through common law in the United States essentially is what makes crypto, legally speaking, count as a security, and securities are regulated in the United States. They are insufferably regulated in the United States. Okay, let's continue. CIA director says agency currently has a number of different crypto projects focused on crypto. CIA Director William Burns said his predecessor at the United States government agency initiated projects focused on gathering intelligence on cryptocurrency. Fighting a question on crypto at the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Summit on Monday, Burns said the CIA was looking to add expertise in cryptocurrencies and blockchain to its team of intelligence analysts. In addition to communicating with industry experts, he said the challenges from the crypto space, quote, could have numerous impact on the U.S. given that what we have seen in ransomware attacks. Now, translation. This is a threat to the petrodollar. The petrodollar is what makes the United States the world empire that it is. Without the petrodollar and controlling finance for half the world, we just have our military. We just have our nukes, and we haven't tested our nukes. So instead of doing the honorable thing and making sure our weapons work like a proper empire should, we're instead going to continue with this deceitful nonsense. Moving on, why isn't this loading? Okay, hang on. Okay, come on. Load. Whatever, this is a website that's having trouble loading, but it was a map of all the countries that are experimenting with central bank digital currencies, and it's the world over. I hope the link works eventually, but right now the link isn't working for me. I don't know why the link isn't working for me. It's just not working for me. So there's this. The US Securities and Exchange Commission framework for investment contracts and digital assets. If you are considering an initial coin offering, sometimes referred to as an ICO, or otherwise engaging in the offer, sale, or distribution of a digital asset, you need to consider whether the US federal securities law applies. Crypto is heavily regulated. Okay? Crypto, by the way, is more regulated than the US dollar. The US dollar, okay, is a note. And people exchange the US dollar just fine, and nothing happens. Okay? But the Fed is creating a central bank digital currency where let's just read. CBDC, central bank digital currency, is generally defined as a digital liability of a central bank that is widely available to the general public. Today in the United States, Federal Reserve notes, i.e. physical currency, are the only type of central bank money available to the general public. Like existing forms of money, CBDC would enable the general public to make digital payments. As a liability of the Federal Reserve, however, a CBDC would be the safest digital asset available to the general public with no associated credit or liquidity risk. Now, assets are regulated differently than notes. First off, if it's a digital asset, then it allows them to circumnavigate the Fourth Amendment. It just does. If it's and there are many other things too. With a central bank digital currency, they could say, there's this much money in the money supply today. Sorry, poor people. Here you go, Smithsonian Institute. Here's all of the billion in the current money supply, which they've done. The Fed has printed money and given $1 billion to the Smithsonian Institute during a global pandemic. Not so good, you know. And if you really want to know, the chairman of the Federal Reserve said this. Oh my God, that is stupidly quiet. Hang on.
Proceed or not, but we issued a discussion paper in January of this year, and we said that we think that there are 4 characteristics of, if we were to pursue a CBDC, it would at a minimum have the following 4 characteristics. First is intermediated. Second is privacy protected. The third is identity verified. So it would not be
identity verified and wouldn't be anonymous. You cannot engage in anonymous commerce because that's a threat. You know, okay. If this is allowed, okay, people need to go onto the streets and protest, okay? If this is allowed to occur in the United States, this is the end of everything. For one, what we need to do is we need to put digital/physical documents onto the Fourth Amendment. That's the first thing that we need to do. Okay, the second thing we need to do, that's the second thing that we need to do. The first thing we need to do, the Fed cannot be allowed to have a digitalized fiat currency. That cannot happen. A digitalized fiat currency, for one, absolutely worthless. Absolutely worthless. No point in trusting that. Second, okay, it can be programmed. Domestic terrorists aren't allowed to engage in commerce. Okay, it's an asset, not a note. Also, we will arbitrarily declare anyone we disagree with politically as domestic terrorists. This right here is America's social credit system. It cannot be allowed to happen. And that was the reason for the emergency stream. In the meantime, my name is Trevor Brown. You just watched the Trevor Report. Do click the support link down below in the description, because what we need to do, the people who are in opposition to this, we need to become invincible. That's what we need to do. We need to become a powerful cultural and economic bloc so that when these evil lunatics decide to do their bullshit, we can go, nah, fuck you. That's what we need to do. And yeah, so I'll see you on Monday, where I'm going to be doing a full context article review from an article from Revolver Magazine. Haven't done that in a while. And so yeah, catch you all on the next one.